I can do that on that screen once I see it go live. Yeah. Got it. And we are live. Double check, make sure yep, we are good. Welcome everybody to Sports Talk 101 with your primary host, Aaron, and my co-host is out with illnesses. He had a third. I don't know if it was his second. I know he had a COVID booster shot.
I think it was the booster. I think this was number 3.
Yeah, he had the booster shot, so he's out. He took the day off, so we got our guest co-host Jeff in. And as y'all can tell, he's a lovely Cowboys fan. So that's there's always that. Today is what is today? God Lord, January 4th already, 2022. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to all the channels: YouTube, Twitter, Twitch TV, Apple Podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating and review. It helps us out tremendously. Visit us on the sportscast.net and follow us on Twitter at the Sportscast1. Check out our app, the Sportscast, in the iOS App Store. And I did send that to Ray today, so he's got his he's got his third, so he can fill up the punch card.
Ooh, he's
almost. I did finally, after last week's show, I finally downloaded the Sports Talk app and I subscribed to the podcast. I try to listen to it as best I can, but I hate the sound of my voice after it's been recorded. So I try to.
I hate the sound of your voice.
At least I finally downloaded it.
I hate the sound of your voice all the time, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Two of us,
Another wild week in the NFL again, as usual. I mean, starting this week and last week, good God, or the beginning of the season to now, I don't know if I could have compared any of this at this point. It's all over the place with news and whatnot. So it's just been a crazy season with COVID and injuries and predictions not panning out.
I heard a stat that in December there were 400 and something players that came down with COVID, and all of last year in 2020 there was 250 or something. Someone can fact check me the numbers, but yeah, it was something ridiculous. So this Omicron thing, and now they've changed the rules. They're following the CDC guidelines. So before, like Aaron missed a game. Aaron Rodgers, when he had it, because he was unvaxxed and he had the 10 days. Now, if he got it, he could be back, potentially to play that Sunday, right? Carson Wentz looked like he was going to miss an important game. And with the new rules, he was back and played. So interesting to see.
Yeah, he's back. It's just been crazy. It'll be interesting to see how the playoffs pan out this year, because with the way that everything has been, I can't even really base it anymore, because I don't know how the playoffs will pan out, because I can't base it off of if I'm a statistical person, I can't base this year's playoffs off of any other, because this is a season unlike any other.
That's right. My dad, 94-year-old dad, some of you that follow me on my channel would have seen him on a show. My dad said, why don't all the players just go stay in a hotel? Just get a hotel and just isolate them, at least for the playoffs. I know there's been no talk of that, but you would think.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they don't do something similar to the what was it? What the NBA did, was it a year ago with the bubble? I don't know how well that worked, but hockey, I mean, God, they might end up losing the whole season. I have to scrap the whole season from what I've been reading. So that'll be on another Sports Talk episode at some point.
So that is true. But yeah, you think the teams would do that? Just say, you know what, we're just gonna, just to make sure nobody, you don't want going into the playoffs. You don't want a Dak, or you don't want a Matthew Stafford to go down. Matthew Stafford gets it right before. Then what? Now, you're the number 2 seed, and now your number 1 quarterback is down. And you're playing your backup.
Yeah, and we've seen how many teams have had to deal with backup quarterbacks. I mean, Washington literally had to pick somebody off of a practice squad. Said, here, 3 days, figure it out. Let's hope for the best, because everybody was COVID or injured. I mean, Minnesota had the same issue over the weekend. They had to pull. They had to go off. They lost Kirk Cousins because of COVID.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Captain Kirk, who thought he was immune. You know.
Yeah. Baltimore lost Lamar, and so Huntley was playing great, but then he got it. So then they had to put in Josh Johnson, who, you know, he's like, you know, he's your age. He's like 38 years older. Something.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's and we've seen that before in the past. There have been teams that have had that issue, not with COVID, but just with injuries and things. I mean, God, I remember the Panthers had that. They brought Vinny Testaverde out of retirement. The dude was 42 years old and got to play like 1 or 2 more games. I mean, because apparently that, you know, there's nothing better to do than just pick up Testaverde. So highlights. You know, we had Monday night game, Big Ben. That was his final game at Heinz Field. Bravo. At least he won. He went out on top. I mean, it wasn't the best performance, but he won nonetheless. He got a victory. He's the winningest quarterback in Steeler history. I mean, he's what I think I have the stat here. He's won. He became the first player in the last 20 seasons with 30 plus passing attempts and fewer than 100 passing yards, including the playoffs. And I mean, not that that's a big deal when you can run the ball. I mean, passing, you don't need, and he's old. I mean, the guy is old and brittle.
My son and I watched the game 1 or 2 games ago, and he like ran, and he was just like running. It's like my son felt sorry for this poor guy at the, you know, this old guy running down the field. My son he's like you running down the field. Like,
he's a big guy, and even in his prime, he was still big and bulky. And
he had to be.
I always was concerned watching him run because he's not like Steve Young was not big and bulky like that, and he didn't care. Ben, he's like a freight train coming through.
Ben was so abused. He had so many sacks, and he was always hit. He's always getting attacked, right?
Not there. So, okay, I found the stat I was looking for. Ben has 92 wins at Heinz Field. He's got 83 more wins than the next closest quarterback since the stadium opened in 2001. And that was Cordell Stewart, who has
Flash.
He had 9.
Flash.
Cordell, I remember Cordell when he was there for a while.
He was like, he's like Hill now, right? He played a little quarterback. He played a little wide receiver.
Yeah, he did. He was a little of everything. Yeah, I mean, you look at the stats between Ben and Mayfield. They were both pretty on par. I mean, Ben was 24, 46, 123 yards, a touchdown, of 1 pick, 56.2 passer rating.
Is he done in Cleveland?
Mayfield he's done for the season. I know that he's
but is he going to be come back? Are they going to trade him to Washington? Are they going to cut him?
There's no word on Washington going after anybody. I think they're going to stay with Heineke and looking maybe the draft. I know a lot of people have been saying, well, we should go after Deshaun Watson. God help us. We don't have to worry about bringing that bum into DC because Dan Snyder.
I was only joking about the Washington. I mean, is he done in Cleveland? Is he going to?
I don't think he's done in Cleveland. I don't think so.
Could he go to Houston? Could he go to not in a trade? But I'm just saying, if Deshaun leaves, yes, Davis Mills has played okay. He doesn't have much.
I would like to. If he was going to leave, I want to see him go somewhere that's going to protect him. It's no wonder he got injured last night. 9 sacks. I don't know the last time I've seen a quarterback get dropped 9 times in a game before. I mean, that's the epitome of the steel curtain because they came down and just destroyed that poor kid.
So my question,
Watt had 4 sacks in that game too, which was the apple don't fall far from the tree in that family.
No. The question my son had for me on the weekend was, do we believe in Joe Burrow? Just and I said I need more time. He only played the half year or whatever it was last year, then he got hurt. Yes, he's playing well. Yes, he's got some good wide receivers. I said I still need his body of work is still small. And I said that about Mahomes his first year. Because his first year he came in and I said his body of work is small. I need more sample size. And
Well,
he goes,
that
you
was
have
like
enough on him yet? And I go, yeah, I got 3 years on him. Okay, I'm a believer in
well, the same was said about Jared Goff, because look at Goff. His first year it was garbage. His second year he had an all-star year, and now he's kind of starting over. But you know,
so
it's a long road up when you're with the Lions.
I need more film. I need to see
I
him.
want to see
if he continues and they win they win the division again and he has another good year. And all right, I'll believe in Burrow. I'm not there yet.
I don't want to I'm excited to watch him play. I don't know if I'm ready to hop on the Burrow bandwagon yet. He's got potential. I mean, the kid put up almost over 1,000 yards in 2 games, or close to 1,000 yards in 2 games. He's got potential. They've got the talent. They're doing the right things now. If he can stay healthy and he does the same thing, if he's putting 300, 400, 500 yards a game next season, okay, then he's the real deal. And then all that hype from his rookie year is well worth it.
Exactly.
Well, we'll have to kind of see how that pans out.
And that's and I said the same thing about Mahomes. Everybody was crowning him after his first game. I'm like, his body of work is too small. Let's give him, and then okay, he did well that first year. Well, people have figured him out. People will have figured him out in his second year. Well, nobody figured him out yet. And, they're heading into the third year. So
what are your thoughts on Nick Chubb with the Browns? I've been a fan of his since his rookie year, and he's for the Browns overall. I wish
they would give him the ball more. Highlights. Give him the ball more. Like there are times, like at the end of the game, it's like, why is he? You're still in it. And he's got the thing on the sideline. Like run, like why?
Yeah, he looked fantastic last year. I don't think they used him enough this year compared to what they did last year. He was a workhorse last year, and it paid off. That's why they look so good, I think, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know why they wanted to go back to the passing game. I get pass happy league, but this is not the same pass happy league it was a year ago or even 2 years ago. This is where the NFL is in a I said this last week. NFL's in a transition. We're transitioning back to that old school. Let's run the ball first and open up the pass, because passing all the time is not going to is going to eventually phase out. There's no way you're going to be able to fully do that all the time. And teams are starting to know that. The Chiefs, look at the Chiefs. They struggled for a while. Teams figured it out. You got to be able to run the ball. And then with, changes in rules, that also changes the ability to constantly pass the ball. I get fans like the high scoring points, but they can just watch the Lions lose or the Jets lose if they want to see those, or the Jaguars.
Jets almost pulled it off. Jets, my Jets loving son, he came down. I was a few minutes behind down here from what he was watching upstairs. So he came down. He's like, "Oh, you're behind me." Oh, okay. So he already knew what was going to happen because I was behind on my video feeds. But they ran it on 4th down to try to, get the first down. He liked the play. He liked going for it. Yes, you have to go for it to the field goal. You're still giving Brady the ball. He's still going to mark it down and score, blah, blah, blah. He didn't like the play call. He didn't like he thought it could have been a slightly different call. He liked going for it. He didn't disagree with that. Right. So that could have been a whole different, that could have a whole different thing. But again, you give Aaron, you give Tom, you give Dak, you give Patrick, less than 2 minutes, and they've got the things around them.
That's all it takes. That's like, it's the same with all of them. Shifting to the Washington game, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about that.
I was pulling for Washington. Not that
Eagles won again, and they won with the same way they've won the last 3. They've won every game that they've won so far, and it's been running the ball. I haven't seen a Philly team run this good in a long time. But on a positive note, that in the Philly and Washington series, one team swept the series each in each of the last 7. Philly obviously won this year, so I'm hoping, if history is good on that, the odds are in our favor to sweep the next year.
However, Eagles have not beat a team with a winning record.
Yeah. Well, the Eagles have won 7 of their last 9 games. They've won 4 straight after starting 2-5. Honestly, I did not expect them to be at where they're at,
but they haven't beat a team with a winning record.
Right. So, but they got promise though. They've got what 30 plus rushing attempts and 100 plus rushing yards in 10 straight games for the first time since 1949 and 50. So they've obviously been that passing team for ages, and they're shifting away from it. Although on a positive note for Washington, Terry McLaurin had 5+ catches again for the 23rd time in his career, and his career is young. He ain't been around that long.
So I think
he's got the most game. That's the most games amongst Washington players in their first 3 seasons, and I just
good to see your stellar stadium hanging in there, falling apart at the end of the game. It's like,
well, we gotta have something to make the highlight reel.
Then you laugh and say, "Oh, the Dallas is bringing in their own warming benches." Well, do you blame them? The thing is falling apart.
Well, I mean, Washington, they want to move the team. There's talk. I know the last I heard, they were talking when the contract is up with the stadium, they're moving. And talk at one point, and I don't know where it's at now. It was either going back to Washington or going to Virginia. They don't want to be in Maryland. I would love to see them go to RFK. I mean, but that stadium would have to get torn down. I don't know if DC is going to even want them. But I'm hoping more that they go to Virginia. I'm moving to Virginia in a couple of years, so that's a win for me. Their practice field is
2222, new name.
Yep, and there's word that I've heard is there's a lot of it gearing towards Red Wolves because it matches up with the burgundy and gold. They can still use all of the old logos, not the logo, I should say, the R. The curly R that Joe Gibbs wore back in the day on his hats. All that old stuff can get reused, so you're still able to use your old stuff. They can keep the hashtag hater logo, word reference on Twitter, and we still get to keep the same fight song. So, so I'm betting 10-1 that it will be that, but we'll have to wait until the second to see next month to see how that.
But I think, and I know you disagreed with me on Twitter. I think you need to draft a quarterback, and I understand this draft class may not be the draft class of quarterbacks of years gone by, and that's fine. But yeah, get yourself, I don't know if Fitzpatrick's going to be back. I don't know if Heineke's the guy. I think you need to get a young guy that you can mold, in the draft. Got to get yourself.
One Anthony Price over on Facebook said no Red Wolves. So
all right.
we don't know. I mean, they could say no all they want. They're not going to tell us because the problem with Washington is no matter who it is, if they say something, there's still the copyright. There's the trademarks, all of that licensing stuff. They've had this name picked for a while.
Oh yeah, of course they had that. I'm sure if you dug deep through the copyright, the trademark stuff, the filings, you could find it if you cared enough.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, and I'm 100% sure it's already there. I mean, that stuff takes months and months. You're talking about working with the U.S. government. That in itself means they probably did this the moment they.
Now it's the NFL, so if anybody can make things go faster, it's the NFL.
True. That's the other thing. Yeah.
Roger just picks up the phone and makes a phone call to somebody. And
but I will say though, I am thoroughly impressed with the Eagles' running game. They, I think I was looking at their stats and all that, and they've had 2,400 plus rushing yards and 20 plus rushing touchdowns in a season for the second time in team history. That's pretty darn good.
Well, they haven't beat a team with a winning record yet. So,
right. Anthony Price said on the short video they show the jersey have 3 stars on it and the helmet had a W on it. Interesting. I mean, I'm for it. I grew up a Washington fan since I was born. I mean, I've been a fan of them since the early 80s. So my heart will always call them the name that they were, but I'm glad. One of the things I'm still glad that they did not do away with was the burgundy and gold. I'm glad they're at least keeping that part of the history of the team. But I'm excited as much as every other fan is. Well, I mean, supposedly every other fan is. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with it. Quarterback wise, like I said, I'm still a fan of Heineke. Part of me, I don't know. I don't see them keeping Fitzpatrick around. He was only on, I think, if I remember correctly, he was only on a 1-year deal anyways. So, but depending on who's available in free agency, I wouldn't be opposed of them maybe getting a decent backup for Heineke. And, maybe you draft somebody or, I don't want to see them piss away a first round pick or anything like that. I say go with further back in the draft, get somebody good and mold him, like as you said, mold him. But you need a veteran. I mean, Heineke is good, but he's not a vet. You want a long-term a veteran that knows the game that can help. I know that's what Fitzpatrick did with Tua, but there were other issues I think with that. Anthony Price said, "Hell yeah, LL, me too." Now we need a new field. Well, the name is the first step. We got to get the name and all of that stuff, and then the field will come. Like I said, my hope is that they bring it to Virginia. Ashburn is where the practice field is, so it makes sense. Put the team there. There's plenty of spaces.
Is there room?
Oh, there's plenty of areas they could put.
How's it for transit? So if people from DC, like that's a consideration is transit, right? Getting people.
There's Metro goes to DC, Baltimore, unless obviously except for the winter storm that stranded hundreds of people on Interstate 95, but how often does that actually happen? This is the first storm they've had over a foot of snow since I think 2002. But if you're looking at the Washington sports teams, Virginia almost got the Nationals. They almost ended up with the Nationals, but they ended up getting DC made a better deal to them and they went there instead. But so the possibility of getting Washington, the team to Virginia, I'm hoping is good. They've narrowed it. They said they're not staying in Maryland regardless. So we're either going back to Washington or we're going to Virginia. But we'll shift topics. We can, since like I said, there really wasn't a huge amount with that. I mean, we could poke around some more of the Monday night game, but we can jump into the Dallas, Arizona.
Well, that looks like it could be the wild card game too, if everything stays open. I don't know what to say.
Are you if that's the wild card? Let's say, are you concerned at all? Depending on who has home field advantage.
What do you mean?
Like, if Arizona goes to considering
games in Dallas,
if it's in Dallas, are you concerned of losing, or do you think the Cardinals with the Murray with that 9-0 record goes out the window because it's the playoffs?
I'm not concerned. Because everybody was complaining about McCarthy's time management at the end of the game. I saw the tweets and well, and he had to call that first timeout because Murray and the punt kicker were both on the field, so you needed to call that timeout. Yes, he called the other two to try to buy some time in case they, to get the ball back, just to hold them to a field goal and whatever. So, everybody's always complained about his time management. I've never, like even early on in the season, they're like, oh, he had some timeouts. Why didn't he get the timeouts and march down and score at the end of the first half in one of those games? But they got the ball like on the 15-yard line and there was less than a minute left. Like, that's just, what are you going to try and march down 90, 80? No, never. Right. So, could they have, stopped, and should they have been able to review that? At first, second, third glance, I wasn't 100% convinced it was a fumble in the first place. That last year at the end of the game. Is Dak in a slump? Yes, I know you said to me before somewhere, you said, they put up 56 points against Washington. Who cares? It's Washington. What are they going to do against other teams?
I've said I wanted to see how because I based my statement on that was based off of against Washington. Washington was not the defense. All of that was hands down a blowout.
Agree.
But I wanted to see what they were going to do against a good team. And at the time, the Cardinals, with the record, they had a winning record. They were, most would consider them a good team.
They're going to the playoffs, so you gotta be half decent if you're going to the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
sure. The year they went, somebody went with 7 and 9 a couple of times. Well, don't worry about that. But I am not concerned. Are we going to stay in the number 4 spot? Obviously, I'm going to be pulling for the Rams to lose, and I'm going to be pulling for Tampa Bay to lose. Apparently, we're not resting our starters. Apparently, but I think our defense. Can. I think our defense, even if Dak's not having the best game, I think our defense.
Prescott's looked good. I mean, as a Washington fan, I will say, as a sports fan, Prescott's looked fantastic. I got to give him credit where credit is deserved.
He'll be comeback player of the year.
He has looked fantastic. But I think the biggest surprise for me with Dallas has been the defense. That is the defense I remember back in the heydays, the 80s, the 90s, watching, when they had the strong defense, they had the strong offense, but it was those defenses with Nate Newton and, all of these guys that I remember, I guess,
and Too Tall Jones and
Dion
all those guys.
Even Dion, when he played, was on, they still had strong defenses back then too, in the 90s. But I remember those guys and watching like Gregory and some of those hits. I was like, Mike, I'm watching the game. I'm like, dear God, they're going to need to like double team him. But if you double team Gregory, you're leaving some of these other guys open. I'm just like, that's a tough thing to stop. That defense has not been there.
And you know what? And we've played them now. And and I think Dan Quinn will scheme up around Kyler, because he's always the wild card, because you just never know what he's going to do, right? He's like he's like Lamar. He could just just take off, right?
Yep.
And unless you keep a spy on him. But even then, I really owe a big thanks to John Elway, because he drafted Paxton Lynch a few years ago. So then we waited till the 4th round and we picked up a fellow, Mr. Prescott. And then last year he signed, Patrick Surtain, which was, he was ready. They had Anthony, a Cowboy jersey.
Over on Facebook, Anthony said, now you have to, I'm assuming this was directed towards you, now you have to deal with Hopkins coming back. And he said, people are picking on Anthony Brown and Diggs is getting exposed with double moves.
Yes. I agree on both of those. Yep. I'm not sure D-Hop's going to be back for that game. Don't know if he's going to be back.
I haven't heard anything.
They said if he makes it to the NFC Championship game, he could be back.
The Arizona 98.7. The last thing I read was an article from Arizona Sports 98.7 FM, and they were saying Hopkins could be back by the championship if Arizona can make it to the championship. I don't really know if they're going to. It's going to be interesting, I think.
You know what? Another, everyone's talking about the Rams, and I've got a couple of hater friends. They're like, "You're going to lose to the Rams." You know what? Matthew Stafford keeps throwing interceptions, so I know they're all in, and I know they got OBJ, and so it's going to be interesting. Roger, I still think I'm on record of saying this. I think Roger wants Tampa Bay and the Patriots. So
could you imagine? And
so there are 4 teams in the AFC just bouncing over there for a half second that can still be the number 1 seed. Obviously Tennessee, obviously Kansas City. The Patriots can still be the number 1 seed, and Cleveland and Cincinnati. The Bills cannot, but the Patriots could still end up, if chips fell a certain way, they could still be the number 1 seed. It's just the way so here's an interesting scenario in the AFC. I want your take on Anthony over on Facebook. I'd love to know his take. If, and this is a big if, big if Jacksonville wins, it's a big if. I understand that, but
right, because they are. Let's see,
because they're horrible.
And they're I know I got Jacksonville on. Oh God, I know who they're playing too.
Yeah, yeah. But again, it's a big if. If there's a big if, and it comes down to that final game, Chargers and Raiders. Obviously, Chargers win, they're in. Raiders win, they're in. But if Jacksonville wins, if it's a tie, both teams are in.
Interesting.
So, Anthony on Facebook, if Jacksonville wins, I preface this by saying that, but let's say they did, and it comes down, do those teams then play the tie so they both get in and or does the competitive in them? Obviously, there's collusion and there's other things, but if it comes down, if it comes down and it comes down and they're like, it's one of those weird scenarios that could happen. Yes, Jacksonville has to win, and look who they're playing. So, sure, that's probably not going to happen. But you know what? Any given Sunday, we talk about this all the time. Any given Sunday, any team can win on any given Sunday.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Like for me, competitiveness would take over, and I don't want to lose. And like when I played football in school, I hated losing, and I didn't like a tie. And my coaches taught us that if you tie, you lose. That's there is no lose. There's no tying in football. You either win or you lose. Yeah. And
my son's like, they're in the division. They're not going to do that. They're not going to. No, they're not. Even to have.
We also thought. I mean, a lot of people thought. Was it last year the Dolphins were tanking on purpose to get a better pick, and
we all thought that.
And I was looking at some stats. I pulled up on the NFL for 3 playoff offenses with concerns, and they got Dallas listed as one of the teams, and they were saying take last week's loss to Dallas ranks top. They rank tops in the league in scoring offense, second in yardage, but they've gotten away from the run game, which and inconsistent play from Dak Prescott. Last week's loss to Arizona, Dallas which has averaged about 65.8 rushing yards per game in its 5 losses. I mean, running is that's where I always bring it up with the running stuff. But they ran the ball a mere 17 times for 45 yards, and Prescott led the way with 20 yards on 5 carries. It says, unless we're talking about Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, no quarterback should lead his team in ground production. I get Zeke and Tony Pollard have been banged up down the stretch, but this offense must take a page out of the Titans book and focus more on being physical and winning up front to get back to being a dominant run team. And that's what I remember about Dallas. They were never, they had weapons for passing, but growing up, Dallas was a running team. They ran the ball, and then
a few years ago we had 3 offensive linemen always in the Pro Bowl. Travis, we had Fredericks, we have obviously all world Zach Martin and and
think if they get consistency back that could help Prescott.
Yes.
If they can even whether it's Zeke or it's Pollard's showing promise too. So I've always said it, run the ball. If your quarterback struggles passing or has issues, running the ball can help. Sometimes it does alleviate things.
Yeah, and Connor Williams unfortunately had some bad penalties that again put us at 2nd and 20.
And that kills no matter how good you are on a team. Penalties kill everything. That just sucks the life right out of you.
We are the most penalized team in the NFL.
Well, and they were showing stat wise for the first half of week 16. Dallas was 77.1 completion percentage, 9.2 yards passing yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, no picks. The other 9 halves, 63.9. And
we lost
5.7 pass yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks.
And we lost Michael Gallup.
Yeah. Yep. Gallup is tore his ACL in Sunday's loss. That's not going to help things.
Cedric Wilson has played well. He's no Gallup. Gallup just makes those catches. Like, look at that touchdown catch that ended up, hurting him. The things that he makes.
And this is the interesting thing I find on this article. The other 2 teams are the Patriots and the Bucks. And the Bucks, obviously, we're not questioning Brady. I think the biggest question is going to be Mr. Wonderful's exit. Lovely third quarter exit from the team, saying he's quit, but then he shows up in Brooklyn. So at a Nets thing, and I actually watched a clip of this, and the people that were broadcasting that game saw him there and said, "What do we pause? Do we send someone down to interview him? What do we do?" Like the entire game basketball game went out the door, and it all focused on Antonio Brown. After the game, every halftime show, that's all it was. As soon as that happened, all of the halftime shows, the post game shows, everything went right back to Brown. I think that they need to cut him. And I get Arian said he's no longer a Buck. Obviously, we all know he's still part of the team, or he's on the team. He may not be playing no more. So I don't know, but Godwin's out.
Well, they don't want another team to sign him. Not that another team would, but you know what? I could see LA. I could see LA picking him up. I could see LA.
Years ago, I would have said it would have, if for a player with baggage, I would have always said Washington because of Dan Snyder, or Dallas because of Jerry Jones. And at this stage, I don't see. I mean, Dan Snyder doesn't have a say in his team. He gets to he gets to sign his name on a check, and that's all he gets to do. His wife does most stuff, but that's Rivera's team. He gets the final say on everything, which is good. And Jones doesn't. I don't see him taking a shot on that. He wanted Johnny Manziel and didn't get his way with that.
He did not want. He did not want Johnny Manziel. That's fake news. The only reason I see the Rams is because of Matthew Stafford. So Matthew Stafford is like Brady. He's an old veteran.
Bro, what's going on, buddy?
He could take him in
on YouTube.
Crow. He could take him and say, "Look, come on, smarten up," and take him under his wing with his family and do whatever. Right. So that's the only reason it'll be interesting to see if he goes somewhere. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of ifs. The Rams want to win this year. So if they release him, that's the only one I could see picking him up.
True.
Now, if they release him, I could also see Jerry doing it because we lost Michael Gallup. But you know what? We've got Wilson. He does a great job. He can throw the ball.
The thing going back to the Bucks, they were saying, injuries have piled up the last several weeks. They lost Godwin, ACL out for the year. Leonard Fournette, hamstring, he's on IR. Brown is out now, so there goes another receiver. But Brady's always had a way of finding a way to do something. I mean, he did that with Wes Welker. He did that with Julian Edelman. I know there was talk at one point he was trying to get Edelman to come out of retirement, and Edelman point blank said no. He's not pulling the Gronk.
In the Patriots, we always said, it's Brady and 11 and 10 other scarecrows that he could put out there. That's all you really need. It's just
right. And Ronald Jones is battling an ankle injury, so it's in the Bucks. They're tackling, they're lacking in the backfield. I mean, they're just an all around mess. The Patriots,
they almost lost to the Jets, and that's only and my son even said, my Jets loving son even said, he goes, our lack of talent was evident in that game.
Well, the Patriots really, I don't see too much. I mean, you got Mac Jones, and I'm not knocking Jones because I'm a Mac Jones. I'm a fan of that kid. He has done a phenomenal job. I think he's the future of that team. And it's great to see him.
Not this year.
Not this year. I think he's going to get better. He's gotten better every game. He's not been 100%, but he's definitely gotten better every game this season. And I think that trend will continue to make him a good quarterback. He's got one of the best coaches of all time teaching him. So I can't knock that away. But they've got a ground attack. They haven't had a good ground. I don't know the last time they had a good ground attack. It's been a long time since the Patriots have had a decent ground game. But they got Damian Harris. They got Ramondre Stevenson. Two good guys.
Yeah. Well, when we get into the playoffs, it's it all depends. It's all
Yeah, I mean, everything changes at that point. I know
in the NFC, everything's got to go through Green Bay. This
is a 7-minute video. I'm just skipping through the video. They are. We've got an update on A popular name option, a sneak peek at the jerseys, and a confirmed announcement date. I was looking. They show the Wolves a couple of times. I'm trying to look at the video to see.
Oh, maybe they're just effing with
Yeah, they blurred it on purpose, the buttholes. It is what it is. I'm not worried about but we'll see what happens. Anthony was correct. Team president Jason Wright did rule out two potential names, the Wolves and the Red Wolves, citing trademarks held by other teams. So it'll be interesting because we know if they're announcing it, they've already got everything done. So yep. I'll be very interested to see what they chose.
Somebody's digging through the court filings and the trademark filings. And
Somebody is. Yeah, somebody's done. We know somebody's already looking at that.
Yeah.
Well, the Bengals. Hey, the Bengals out of the Bengals cracked the top 5 this week.
They did
for going into the power rankings for week 18. Mm-hmm. Packers number 1. Obviously, that doesn't surprise me. The Rams are sitting at number 2. They dropped. The Bucks are they moved up a spot, so they're at number 3. The Chiefs are down to number 4, and the Bengals shot up 4 spots. They went from number 9 to number 5.
Yeah, we were watching Dan Jesus today do his little spiel.
What's up, Ron? Slusher is in the building over on the YouTube.
Oh, hello, sir.
He is everywhere. I don't think he does anything but YouTube. I'm gonna shift to my list because we're closing in on that. We can chit chat. Well, let's knock out the picks of the week for week 18, and then we can kind of go from there and veer off for the final countdown.
I'm picking the Chargers over the Raiders because I hate the Raiders.
Well, we got Chiefs, the 11-5 Chiefs at the 7-9 Broncos. I'm going Chiefs on that one. I don't see the Broncos winning that at all. I don't even think, even if the Broncos won, I don't think it makes a difference.
That's the Saturday. That's the early Saturday game, right? So
yep.
It's not even like they're going to know, other outcomes and whether or not they're playing for first or something. They won't know what Tennessee's done because they're the first game out of the hop.
Yeah.
Right?
Dallas plays at Philly. Dallas obviously 11-5. Philly's 9-7. I think I want to say Dallas is. And I'm going to pick Philly, obviously, because I don't like Dallas. But that's the way that Philly has been playing. I think they can give Dallas a run for their money. If I base it off of last week's performance against the Cardinals, I think the Eagles have a strong shot. They've been running well. Their defense is kind of playing well, but they've also played subpar teams. So it will be interesting. And because they obviously the Eagles need the win. If they want to continue, they need the win. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get this win and move to, because that's interesting to put them at 10-7. Dallas would drop to 11-6, and then we see how things work at that point. Does Dallas fall further in the playoffs where they, where they're ranking in the wild card round at that point? I don't know.
I don't think a win or a loss helps or hurts either team.
Okay. And obviously we know who you're picking.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't, because I said this to you on Twitter. I don't think it matters because they're going to host a wild card game. They got the number 4 spot. If they win and a bunch of other people lose, could they move up? I'd have to go back and crunch the numbers. So I don't know if they can actually move up to 2 or 3. I don't think they can. Yeah. I think they're locked in at 4, win or lose. If the Philadelphia goes to 10, they'll be tied with, and if the Thingamabobs win, the 49ers, they'll be 10. The 49ers, I think they're set. I don't.
Yeah. Ron said Dallas might rest their guys.
Yeah. Well, they've already said they're not, but again, we'll have to see. They may in the second half pull them out. But again, I don't think a win or a loss. Well,
that's the thing is, do you play? I get like Prescott's obviously going to want to play. Zeke's going to want to play. I get if you're winning or even if you're losing, you're down. I would rather say rest them in the second half.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to risk Prescott getting injured. You don't want to risk Zeke getting injured, especially knowing you're already in the playoffs. You can't afford, and that goes for any team. You can't afford if you're locked in. Like, do we really think? I would say Mahomes will probably play the first quarter, maybe the second, but I don't see him playing very much of that game because you don't want to risk that. You can't afford to lose 100%. Your stars.
Exactly. So that's why at this point, like I think I responded to a tweet of Victor's. I don't think it matters, win or lose. If the Eagles win, who cares? I don't think it helps them. They're still going to be locked in and they're going to end up playing. They're going to end up going to LA. I think.
Yeah. Colts I skipped one. This one's an easy one to pick. Packers 13-3 at the 2-13-1 Lions. Obviously, we know who's going to win that game.
Again, they may rest everybody, like the same thing.
And if the Packers rested their entire starting offense, they're still going to win. They are playing the Lions, and the Lions have too many issues.
But the Lions play hard. They've been playing hard for Dan
Campbell. They do. When they were 0-16, they play hard every game. They just have that. Yeah. It's the Detroit curse. There must be something in the water. Colts are 9-7 at the 2-14 Jaguars. We already were discussing this one earlier. The possible upset pick. That could be, and you never know. Yes, the Colts are 9-7, but it's the Colts. Wentz could have an off game. I know they got Taylor. That's the key. That's the factor. That's their key factor right there. Jacksonville. If y'all are listening,
they might rest. They might rest him. They might rest him. Give him a week off for the playoffs.
And
play him a little bit, or just play him a little
difference.
That's the problem with this last game of the season when teams have already clinched playoff spots and seeding. There's nowhere for them to go. That's. So you're gonna pick.
I'm going Colts on that one.
Sure,
it's just fun. At this point, half the games don't matter, but it's still fun to do our picks. Washington at New York. That's going to be a snooze fest. I'm going Washington on that one. There's no way the Giants are going to. I don't care how bad Washington's doing right now. The Giants are 10 times worse. I was on with Victor and, we were discussing who was going to win the Giants-Chicago game. I said, they were like, well, somebody's got to lose. I said, well, as bad as both of them are, hell, I wouldn't be surprised to see a tie. And, to be honest, I could somehow end up seeing that with the Washington game. But obviously, I'm picking Washington. Bears, 6-10 Bears at the Vikings, who are 7-9. I don't even know at that point. I almost think the Bears are going to win because the Vikings have a great way of shooting themselves in the foot with penalties. Both coaches are fighting for their job. I actually think it doesn't even matter because I think both of them are going to be gone at the end of the season. Zimmer's defense is a defensive coach and his defense is garbage. Their offense is crap. I think they need to get rid of Kirk Cousins. That was the stupidest mistake they made was signing him because Washington's former guy that's in San Francisco made him look good. They built that offense around him, the plays around him. And why do you think he made $80 million plus out of Washington in 2 seasons getting tagged and then made bank in Minnesota by being a mediocre quarterback? He was made to look like a Tom Brady. He is not, but I see both coaches getting canned at the end after this game.
I don't see Zimmer getting fired yet, but
I do. I think he's done.
We'll find out.
You took your team to the NFC Championship. You spent $80 million on a quarterback.
That wasn't him though, but still.
Well, your team was up here, and now you're a mediocre team.
Yeah, I agree.
Titans at the Texans. That one's
Titans have to win because they want the number 1 seed. Titans want to win; they want the number 1 seed, so they're gonna.
Right, and I would love to say that could be an upset.
Derek may be back. Derek may be back.
Yeah, if he's back, that there's no question then. But if he's not, it would be interesting because what would happen if the Texans upset and get another win? They found found a way to win 4 times. That would be a shocking upset, and that would alter, I think, playoffs by them winning. Steelers at the Ravens. I'm picking Steelers on that one. I know they probably both need it, but the Ravens are they're just a cluster F of a team right now. They don't have Lamar. I don't know if he's going to be playing.
If Lamar plays, then I go Ravens. If he's not playing, I'll go Ravens. Because I hate the Steelers. I can't pick the Steelers.
Yeah, Bengals at the Browns. I'm going Bengals over the Browns. Obviously,
they still have a shot at they have a shot at that number 1 seed.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be playing. Burrow's probably. I'm going to go with that game. I'm going to say Burrow's going to put 500 plus yards in passing again. Niners at the Rams. Niners need the win. Rams obviously want the win. Do they need it? Probably not. I mean, but would they?
I got to check all the math, because if they lose and the Bucks win, then the Bucks would have the number 2 seed. Right. So
yeah.
Both
I mean, the variables change. Like I said, we've said this. Variables change the outcomes of everything. So it's really hard with especially when you know that teams need to win. What teams lose that could, don't care because they're already in, but it alters things. So those variables, it's math, people, and I hate math, but good Lord, it's still everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and a couple of weeks ago when Dallas, there was a 3-way tie, because of strength of schedule, Dallas got the number 2 seed, and my hater friends are like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. The Bucks beat them, so the Bucks go ahead. I go, it's a 3-way tie. When it's a 3-way tie, it goes to conference things. It's strength of schedule. It's all this other stuff. It goes, points for and against don't matter. I go, dude, no. He goes, you're wrong. And then, I send him the official thing from the NFL. I said, well, if I'm wrong, then the NFL's wrong too. So you should probably call and tell somebody. If
you're calling Roger Goodell, nothing's gonna change.
Again, it's if Dallas wins and the Bucks and the things lose, then conference. I've got to.
I know, and figure out. Speaking of, I'm picking the Rams because I think Stafford will show up, but I don't know because Debo Samuel.
I'm picking the 49ers because they're winning, they're in, right? They want to get in. So, and
they're going to play harder, I think, because of the need to get in and that want to get in. Panthers at the Bucks. I'm going to pick the Bucks because, obviously I'm a Brady fan. I don't know. There's some variables there because I could very easily see the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Bucks, but I'm gonna hope and pray the Panthers somehow beat them.
Yeah, we just don't know with that one. And it's not so much the Panthers as it is the issues that the Bucks have with offense and defense. Seahawks are 6-10 at the Cardinals, 11-5. My money's on the Cardinals with that one. They're obviously going to want to win. Seahawks. I mean, Russell Wilson at this point I don't think he's going to care one way or the other because I still think he wants out of there. And I think he's going to be moving on to a new team by next season. Patriots at the Dolphins.
Sorry, just to go back.
Okay.
Cardinals have 0 to play for. 0 to play for. So I could see them resting a lot of other people. And because they have 0 to play for because they're locked in at number 5. They're not going up. They're not going down. They're in number 5. That's it. They're locked in. So
I mean, we don't know,
right? So Russell might be playing for pride. Russell might be playing for next year. Russell may not even play. Russell might go.
I mean, if he plays, he could be playing to showcase skills for another team.
He doesn't have to.
Because I don't see that he's going to stay in Seattle next season.
He doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it could be more pride for that one. Patriots at the Dolphins. My money's on the Patriots winning that. Dolphins have issues. The bright spot with the Dolphins has been Waddle all season, but Tua's I've never been sold on Tua. I'm gonna pick
Miami because I think because it's a division game. I think they're gonna play them hard. Where is it?
In Miami.
Okay, I'm picking Miami.
Yeah, in Miami.
Because I think because that not that the Patriots are in the playoffs, but again, it could affect seeding. I don't think it does. But anyways, yeah.
Saints are at the Falcons. I'm going Falcons.
I'm going Saints because Saints win and the 49ers lost. They're in. So they want to give themselves a shot, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're going to I think they're going to play.
Jets are at the Bills. I'm sorry, Jets fans out there, but get ready for another loss. The Bills, I get the Bills. They're going to want the win, and they're not going to want to let the Jets beat them. I mean, there are certain teams, even if you're at the point where you're in the playoffs, there are certain teams you don't want to lose to. It doesn't matter.
Well, if they lose,
you could be 15 and 1.
Patriots get the division.
Yeah, so they're definitely going to want to win that one anyways. But more as well. Last game of the season will be Chargers at the Raiders. I'm going. Oh God, I don't know.
I gotta love my Raiders loving Cowboy hating buddy because I texted him and I said your game's going to be moved to Sunday. I said I said something about Sunday night game. He goes, dude, you're such an idiot. We play in the afternoon. I said,
I'm going to give a shout out to Kevin. Go! I'm picking the Raiders to win. Crow said the poor Jets.
Yeah, my son's a Jets loving. My son's a Jets lover, and he said their lack of talent came out. But again, they're going to get better. Robert Saleh's, he's righted the ship. He's gonna do some good things there. I'm a believer in Herbert. I'm a believer in Herbert. I know again, body of work is not big. I understand that. Going back to my Burrow. Right, but I think he will come to play. I know it's in Vegas. I think, if I remember, is it in Vegas?
Let me look real quick. Yes, in Vegas. Yep, home game for LA.
Yeah, I don't trust Carr. Carr, he's gonna fumble. He's gonna throw an interception.
Since we're on since we got final 2 minutes of the show, we're on the topic of the Raiders. John Harbaugh. Is it John or Jim? One of the Harbaugh, the one that's not coaching in the NFL, is currently the favorite he is the favorite to be the Raiders' new head coach.
Mm-hmm. I saw that rumor.
What would you think? What do you think of that if he were to come back? Do you think he could turn that team around?
I think the team has already turned around. I think Rich Bisaccia has done a good job of kind of turning them around and moving them forward.
Do you think? Okay. Let me restate that. Do you think he could build upon what's been done so far?
I think they got to get rid of Carr. I think Carr is their weakness. I think they got to.
You think Harbaugh would get rid of him?
I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, there's always
the
only other one. So if we're looking at teams with hirings and things of that nature, if we're going off the two names that I know of that have been interviewed for the Jaguars, who would you, if you were the Jaguars owner, who would you go? Doug Peterson or Jim Caldwell?
No, the third name, the other name that was rolling around this morning, Bill O'Brien.
Oh, yeah. Alabama offensive coordinator.
No, what?
He's the current Alabama offensive coordinator.
The former NFL guy?
I believe so. He's with Alabama right now.
I thought he was unemployed. The former Houston guy?
I believe if that's the same Bill O'Brien we're talking, he was a serious name to watch. I think I pulled that off the NFL's website. And it said Alabama OC, which I just abbreviated. It was the offensive coordinator. If that's the same one, I didn't realize. I think so. But would you go with him over the other two then?
I think Mr. Khan wants an experienced head coach. So
if O'Brien is,
so I know they were going to interview. I know they were going to interview the Dallas guy, the Dallas kid. I understand that. But he doesn't have any head coaching. I think he wants, after the Nick Saban fiasco, I think he wants somebody. And I
if we were looking at those, if we take out, because we don't know for sure on O'Brien, it's just that's a rumor. We know they've interviewed Pedersen and Caldwell. If we're looking at those two, I would go with Caldwell.
Me too.
I mean, look what he did he had good seasons.
But I guess it depends on who he's bringing with him. Is he bringing a good quarterback guy with him? And maybe not necessarily an offensive coordinator, but I think they need a good quarterback coach to mentor.
Well, and the other name that's been going around the rumor mill was Leftwich. Byron Leftwich was another one, because where to get his start? He's in Jacksonville, so there's the history there that could potentially.
That was before Shot Khan was there, though. That was
right, but that's the connection that people were using for it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think they need somebody on his staff, and again, it depends on who he said he would bring in his staff. They need somebody, not even an OC, but I think they need a quarterback guru person to work with Trevor Lawrence. Right. I think.
Well,
Trevor
I think
has
if
I think he has the talent.
If they're more interested in Pedersen, it's going to be because of championship win type stuff that he did. I mean, he's got took a team to the championship, to the Super Bowl. So,
but I think
he's got that over Caldwell. Caldwell though has Matthew Stafford's name he could use and be like, look what I did with that kid, and look where I was at.
No, I know.
Real quick, before we end the show, Crow said from Wikipedia, Bill O'Brien, currently the offensive coordinator at University of Alabama. O'Brien previously served as the head coach of the Houston Texans from 2014 to 2020. So that is the Bill O'Brien we were discussing.
Same guy.
Thank you, Crow.
I did not know he was in. Gotta love the chat. They're always going to fact check us. I did not know he was the. I guess I would have. I only watched part of the games on New Year's Eve. Because I was with my dad. My dad didn't want to watch college football, so I missed the entire first game. And then I only saw the second. I saw the end of the first half, and then in the second half of the other game.
All right.
By then it was out of reach.
All right. I'm gonna. So guys, you can follow us on Twitter at the Sportscast1. Visit us on our website, sportscast.net. Make sure to check out our schedule throughout the week. There's always shows going on all the time. There's Sports Talk 101 on Tuesdays. Santiago has shows. Victor and Byron have a show on Thursday nights.
True.
Always same time. So always tune in. This has been another episode of Sports Talk 101 with myself, Aaron, and my guest, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. Buddy.
Anytime. Yep. Anytime. You are always welcome. The door is always open for you to jump in and join. Guys, thank you very much. Have a good one, everybody.
I'll be here more as we make our run to the Super Bowl. And if we're not, I'm disabling Twitter. I'm telling you now, if we lose in the playoffs, I'm disabling Twitter, so you won't even have to worry about tweeting me. I'm gonna be deactivating Twitter. That I'll be deactivating it. So you're gonna be like, we can't tweet Jeff. Why can't we? So I'm just warning you now.
All right. See you guys.